Black Beauty, Chapter 6, A Lesson from Merrylegs. The squire's daughters, Jessie and Flora, liked to play with all the children in the neighborhood. The other children loved Merrylegs just as much as the girls did. The cheerful gray pony often spent hours giving them all rides in the orchard or up and down the drive. One afternoon, he spent an especially long time with them. Finally, James led Merrylegs back into the stable.
There you go, you little rascal.
The groom said with a chuckle as he pulled off the pony's saddle and bridle.
You'd better behave yourself better next time. Otherwise, we will both get in deep trouble.
When the young man had left, I looked into the pony's stall. "What have you been doing, Merrylegs?" I asked him. Merrylegs tossed his pretty little head.
"Nothing much,"
he said.
"Just teaching some young humans a lesson, that's all."
Ginger looked up from the rack where she stood eating hay.
"What do you mean?"
she asked.
"They couldn't tell when I'd had enough,"
he said.
"so I tossed them off backward. That was the only way to make them understand."
"What?"
I cried.
"Are you saying you threw off Miss Jessie or Miss Flora?"
"Of course not.
Merrylegs looked offended.
I would never do that. I take better care of those young ladies than their own parents do. And I'm always patient with the smaller children, no matter how much they squeal or bounce on my back. I'm the one who teaches them all to ride."
"Yes, that's what everyone says,"
I said.
"It was the older boys who needed the lesson this time.
Merrylegs went on.
In case you don't know, boys need to be trained as much as we horses do when we're colts. They need to be taught what's right."
"I see,"
I said.
"But what happened?"
"I'm trying to tell you."
Merrylegs tossed his head again.
"The other children rode me for a couple of hours as usual. Finally, the older boys decided it was their turn. At first, I had no problem with that. I carried them around one at a time, galloping through the fields and orchard just as they wished. This went on for at least another hour."
"You must have been tired by then."
Ginger said.
"A little,
Merrylegs said.
but I know my job. And I was happy to do it, even though the boys had made a whip out of a large twig they found. They used it a bit too much, but I put up with it for a while. They ran me around and around as fast as I could go, whipping me all the way. Finally, though, I decided I'd had enough. So I stopped a few times to give them the hint, but all they did was whip me even more."
"Oh dear,"
I said.
"Those silly boys never stop to think that a pony can get tired or have any feelings at all,"
Merrylegs said.
"They treated me like an old bicycle." Finally, I decided it was time to help them understand it was wrong. So I stood up on my hind legs just enough to tip my rider off over my hind end. That's all.
"Did they understand then?"
I asked.
"Not at first."
Merrylegs said calmly.
I had to tip each of the boys off a few more times. But finally they began to catch on. And when they brought me to James and complained, he was annoyed to see their homemade whip. He said they didn't need anything like that to ride me.
Ginger tossed her head.
"If they tried any of that with me, I would have given them a good kick."
"I'm sure you would have.
Merrylegs said.
But that's because you've never been in a place that treated you kindly until now. Anyway, I'm not like you. That's why the squire trusts me so completely with the little girls. The other parents trust me too. They know I would never hurt their children. Besides, those boys are not bad boys. They don't mean to be cruel. They only needed a lesson, that's all.
I suppose it's your job to teach them, I said thoughtfully.
Yes, it is.
Merrylegs agreed.
And I want to do a good job. The people here have treated me kindly for the past 5 years, and I would never do anything to make them angry. If I suddenly started kicking children for acting like children, where would I be? Sold off in a hurry, that's where, and none of us want that.
I suppose that Merrylegs was right about that. None of us wanted to be sold to another owner. We were all happy at Birtwick Park, even Ginger, and hoped that we could stay there forever.
Little Fox.